Hello everybody, it's Amanda. How are you doing? Today is May the 29th, 2020, and I'm going to be doing a channeling via JFK, or channeling JFK. Didn't know I was doing it until an hour ago. It's now 9:05 in the morning here in the UK, Saturday morning. And as I say, I had no idea I was going to be asked to do this by Spirit until about an hour ago. So this is going to be completely just one take video. There is no preparation whatsoever other than having picked up this book as I read breakfast, which is Speeches That Changed the World by Simon Sebag Montefiore. It's a brilliant book actually. And I was just trying to get myself into the JFK energy, and I'm going to actually just read a little bit from this book to help myself and you remember the greatness of this man and why his words are so needed right now, This is particularly, I went to bed, to be honest, last night thinking I need to do some sort of video for the people in USA in particular who have got so much happening right now, brought to a head by the death of George Floyd, and sending prayers to everybody in the States and everything that is being brought up for healing at this time. Also, rest in peace to George, goes without saying. And yeah, I wondered how to handle it, what to say, how to do it, and then bingo, JFK's here, so it's absolutely perfect. Before I read a little bit from the book, I will also say that I heard a line from what I thought, well, it is a line from Shakespeare, but it also apparently is the title of a book by John Steinbeck, who I believe is an American author. I've never read the book, but it's Now is the Winter of Our Discontent. So you may very well be able to fill the gaps in there in terms of why I'm hearing that particular line. Having just done a really brief Google of it, it says Steinbeck's the book is set in contemporary 1960 America, which is interesting, of course, because that's sort of the era of Kennedy. And the novel explores the tenuous line between private and public honesty that today ranks it alongside the most acclaimed works of penetrating insight into the American condition. So, as I say, I've not read the book. I don't know what messages are within it, but I'm being given that. That was the first thing I heard, the winter of our discontent. Initially, I thought it was the Shakespeare piece, which is, I think, from Henry the Third. But I actually think now it's linking to this John Steinbeck book. Okay, so I have channeled JFK before. Those of you that didn't see that, there's a beautiful meditation that came through with John Lennon and JFK. I did it, 6-8 months ago. I'll put it as a link underneath this video. It may very well be a little meditation that you might like to do again, because it was to do with peace and holding peace. And from memory, I think we were all invited into Central Park in New York, and we effectively sat round this campfire, and all of the countries came and sat with us, including the countries or representatives of the countries that were the enemy, okay? And you were actually asked to sit beside your enemy. And this is also in terms of country. And it was the two Johns that orchestrated that. And it seems to me that there is just such increasing division everywhere around the world. But America seems to be in particular need at this time. I did do a video on America generally, 2 months ago now. And what came through was a huge wake-up call energy, and the real need for America to learn its lessons and to let go of its past, and that it was going to find it difficult and was going to need a lot of support. So you've obviously gone through the virus, as we all have, and now we've got this very brutal killing of this black man by a white police officer, total betrayal of trust and what the police should stand for. It also makes the job of decent policemen and women up and down the country and around the world that much harder. And it's a truly shocking event. On my Facebook page this morning, I just said that I was going to be doing this video today, and quite a few of you were saying, oh, I've been up all night watching the news. Please don't. Please don't do that to yourself. Whatever the news story is around the world, do not do that. Be informed about what is happening in our world. It's really important that you're informed and you know what is happening. And I think you keep up to date with the news and you watch multiple news sources, not just one news source. But do not watch rolling news of a traumatic event. What you're doing as an empath and a light worker is you are absorbing all of that pain, all of that suffering. If you're in front of a TV screen, you're not going to be transmuting it. You're just going to be absorbing it like a great big aerial. And then you're going to be totally fried and useless in terms of being able to then go into the prayer that is needed and the light work that is needed to hold the light at this time. Okay, the new 24-hour rolling news will try and hook you in and keep you addicted to what is being shown to you. And usually they're just repeating the same old thing over and over again anyway. But, you know, it's not helpful for anybody, so switch that off. I said that also to my New Zealand audience when there was the mass shooting there. And again, people were saying the same thing. They'd been up all night. And I was like, why? Why are you watching it all night? It really does not help you as a healer, an empath. And empaths are already overwhelmed. The video I was supposed to be doing today was about empath overwhelm, but this has taken precedence now. Okay, so, right, let's go to the book. I just want to bring us back up to speed with who JFK was and why we need to listen to his voice now. And then I'll bring through some new words from him as well. So, the book says, I'm just going to read it, widely admired both at home and abroad. At 43, John F. Kennedy was the youngest man and the first Roman Catholic elected as US president. The eloquent speech that he gave at his inauguration swept away many people's fears that he was too young and inexperienced for the job. He won a narrow victory over the Republican Richard Nixon, who had been vice president for 8 years. Kennedy promised defense policies, but progressive health, housing and civil rights programs, and promoted his New Frontier campaign to bring the nation out of an economic slump. Kennedy stressed the need for change to stop America's decline as a world power. He also gained black support by helping to get Martin Luther King released from jail following his civil rights activities in Georgia. And this is interesting. Once in office as president, because Metatron's been talking about this is going to come back, President Kennedy appointed a cabinet of young, able men, including some Republicans, chosen on the basis of talent. He also appointed his brother Robert, who he trusted. It's hard to assess Kennedy's place in history as president because only 34 months after his election, he was shot dead when in Dallas during his campaign for re-election in the 1964 presidential election. By then, he had achieved political stature, though, through his handling of the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962 and the signing of the nuclear test ban treaty with Russia in 1963. The American economy was improving, civil rights laws were now on the agenda, and the US space program had begun. Interestingly, we've got the space launch tonight, Saturday 29th as well, 2020. American involvement in Vietnam was becoming a major issue, which Kennedy referred to as the worst problem we've got. Now, I'm just going to read some of the beautiful, eloquent words from one of his speeches. because there's this thing about the power of words and the power of language to heal. I also woke up this morning, by the way. I always scan my messages that come through overnight. And somebody had left a comment on this YouTube channel talking about Alan Rickman and how wonderful it was that I'd channeled Alan Rickman. And I can't remember what you said now, but it was almost like, what can you do it? Can you do another channeling with Alan? And I was like, well, I'm not going to do Alan today. I'm doing JFK. But I realise now why I needed to have that reference back to Alan Rickman, because in the Alan Rickman channelings I've done, Alan talks about the importance of speech, eloquence and language and getting your words right, okay? Now, we're living in a time where our leaders are not, they don't have the gifts that somebody like JFK had, to be perfectly frank, to be able to bring the gift of language to the masses, to be able to heal and for it to be a balm. If anything, the language that is being used by our leaders at this time is inflaming situations and causing confusion and separation. And that's not just American politics, it's also to do with other parts of the world. I'm in the UK, and just to make it also relevant to other countries, my mother, for example, who's voted Conservative her whole life and always probably will vote Conservative because it's just who she is. We were discussing Boris Johnson's latest speech, which he gave when he was talking about what we were next about to do in terms of coming out of lockdown, or maybe it was after the Dominic Cummings affair. And my mother, who never swears, and obviously is true blue as they come, she said to me, I've never heard such a bumbling load of bullshit in my life. And I was like, whoa, Mum, what you said? But it was like, yeah, I get it, Mum. I get it. So that's on one side of the Atlantic. On the other side of the Atlantic, you've got Donald Trump, who is firing off tweets left, right and centre. Often, I don't think they're particularly well thought through or even considered. He's sending them through in the early hours of the morning. There's this thing about JFK, which is to do with considered speech. And if you're thinking, yeah, no, what are you going on about? Just listen to what the man said. So just going to read a little bit, then we're going to get into the channeling. So this is JFK. Let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate. Shall I just repeat that? Let us never, because actually, before I even do this, one of the things that John wants to talk about today is the ability to listen. We've all lost the ability to listen. It's almost as though as soon as somebody says something that you don't agree with or that you have a counter view to, our ears close and we don't listen. We don't listen anymore. So he wants to talk about the fact that we need to get back to listening. So as that's going to be one of his messages, let us just now listen to the man. These were his words. Let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate. Let both sides explore what problems unite us instead of belabouring those problems which divide us. You see that? So I know there's a reflection. It's a sunny day here. Let both sides, for the first time, formulate serious and precise proposals for the inspection and control of arms, and bring the absolute power to destroy other nations under the absolute control of all nations. Let both sides unite to heed in all corners of the earth the command of Isaiah to undo the heavy burdens and let the oppressed go free. And if a beachhead of cooperation may push back the jungle of suspicion, let both sides join in creating a new endeavour, not a new balance of power, but a new world of law, where the strong are just and the weak secure and the peace preserved. All this will not be finished in the first 100 days, nor will it be finished in the first 1,000 days, nor in the life of this administration, nor even perhaps in our lifetime on this planet, but let us begin. In your hands, my fellow citizens, more than mine, will rest the final success or failure of the course. Since this country was founded, each generation of Americans has been summoned to give testimony to its national loyalty. The graves of young Americans who answered the call to service surround the globe. Now the trumpet summons us again, not as a call to bear arms, though arms we need, not as a call to battle, though embattled we are, but a call to bear the burden of a long twilight struggle, year in and year out, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, a struggle against the common enemies of man, tyranny, poverty, disease, and war itself. Can we forge against these enemies a grand and global alliance, north and south, east and west, that can assure a more fruitful life for all mankind? Will you join in that historic effort? I'll read one more paragraph. In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavour will light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. My fellow citizens of the world, ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man. And finally, whether you are citizens of America or citizens of the world, ask of us here the same high standards of strength and sacrifice which we ask of you. With a good conscience, our only sure reward, with history the final judge of our deeds, let us go forth to lead the land we love, asking his blessing and his help, but knowing that here on earth God's work must truly be our own. So I thought it was really important to read that actually because of the beauty of it. This book is also really interesting because there are other people wanting to speak today, but I haven't got time to do them all, the energy. But obviously we've got Nelson Mandela on the front of the book. After the passage on JFK, or the chapter on JFK, we've got Martin Luther King. And then after Martin Luther King, we've got Malcolm X. So it's a brilliant, brilliant book. And it just reminds you of all of the people that have gone before. But equally, the clamour, actually, the clamour of so many who want to be here to help us at this time. So that being said, we're going to go into some channeling now. And I have literally just written down 5 things that I'm going to be asking John about. And these subjects are leadership, peace, listening, race, and the future. Okay. And we're just going to see what he wants to say on each of them. I will say that there's another message coming in before I do that though, which is to do with God having our back and us needing to remember that God always has our back. Okay. I already had that message this morning, and then I pulled this card which says the same thing. Lean back into the arms of grace, let go and let God. Sorry if you can hear the water in the background. I'm just going to close the door. Hold on. Don't want any distractions when I'm trying to channel, so I just wanted some quiet. Although funny, it was the sound of water. It's actually somebody having a shower in my house, because that song Bridge Under Troubled Water is really important now as well. Okay. And yes, deliberately I've chosen my Prince mug today because it's a shout out to Minneapolis. Okay, let's bring JFK through then. John, Jack, I'm going to call him, I'm going to see what he wants me to call him. I think John. Just spraying a rainbow bridge spray, which just helps me to connect to spirit. So 29th of May was your birthday, John. Just welcoming you into this space. Today it's the 30th. Is it the 30th? Oh, I'm in a time warp again. It's the 30th. I missed your birthday by one day. Okay. Okay, JFK. Just inviting you into this space. I always want to say sir. I always want to say sir with him. Welcome you into this space, sir. I think I did that last time. And straight away he says, you don't have to call me sir. Okay. How may I help? That's what he says. How may I help? I have seen my nations cry for help. I have watched with alarm and horror at what is unfolding in our great country and in the wider world. For we must always remember as Americans that we are part of the wider world and that we are not separate from the world. I have watched as you weep. I have watched as you recoiled in horror at the recent events unfolding across our great land. In truth, what is being seen now are acts that have been perpetrated for many years, many decades. He's taking me way back in time to the 60s, the 50s, the 40s. The acts that divide us, the acts that are devoid of human decency and respect and courtesy to our fellow man, of whatever creed, whatever colour, whatever background. And so now we see in our midst the full horror of it. We can no longer turn a blind eye, because we are not meant to turn a blind eye this time. This time, America is being required to look into the mirror of what it has become, and indeed what was always there. It is an uncomfortable view. It is an uncomfortable truth of the inherent hatred that some have for their fellow brother and sister. For truly all are brothers and sisters of the same human family, the same humanity. But yet this truth has not been internalized, has not been truly understood, has not been heard by a large percentage of the country and indeed of the wider world. But here I talk to my fellow countrymen and women and say it is time to look into the mirror. Okay, he's showing me a mirror, and it's like it's a huge mirror, and I'm being shown the image of this one man, George Floyd, and I'm being shown him curled up in a fetal position, suffering, but yet behind him is a huge number of others who have experienced similar or part thereof. And it's quite graphic in that spirit, John is showing me this, spirit are literally pushing right in front of our noses, right in front of our eyes, this one man, George Floyd, and it's as though you can't escape from seeing this. I also can smell it. It's like it's the stench of ignorance, prejudice, hatred, superiority, injustice, and darkness. And it will not go away. It will not be cleared up and swept under the carpet, because this time America has to look at it. And now I've got John's energy coming back in. And it's like, as a nation, he's just like this. I wanted to say like a grandfather energy. He wasn't an old man when he died, but he's feeling more like a, I don't want to say father energy, it's more like a grandfather energy. He's just gently pushing America in front of the mirror and saying, look at yourself. Look at what we have become. Look at what we are. And look at any part of you that has helped to create this. Every time that you have ignored or turned a blind eye to injustice, to division, to separation, to thinking somebody of a different skin colour is inferior to you. And he's showing me all skin colours. He is saying there is, he's showing me black and white, okay, the division between black and white. But he's also showing me the division that exists between all colours of skin. It's as though we're all guilty at somewhere along our ancestry of this. And we all have to look at that, and we have to heal our own part of the racism that we may have in our family line. And you may now be somebody who fights for equality and does not have a racist bone in your body, but yet somewhere within the family line, John is saying, you don't have to look too far for that stain to be there. I know I have it within mine. And I will share something here that's quite private, but I will say it because it's needing to be said to illustrate the point. I know that my great-grandfather, who I never knew, I never knew the man, but my great-grandfather marched with Mosley, the black shirts. They were the fascists of their day. They marched through the East End of London, I believe. And that's the story that I've always heard through the, tittle-tattle of the family line, that happened and he did that. And I know my own grandfather certainly had racist undertones to him. And he died, I don't know, a couple of decades ago now. And as a medium and as an intuitive, I've often felt my grandfather come back to me, and talk to me. But once I went to visit a medium myself, and my grandfather came through, and he was so full of shame and remorse for the views that he'd held in his lifetime. And he said to me, it's a bit different this side of the veil. He said, I see it all now. Because he wasn't just prejudiced against people of different colours, he was also homophobic. And it was very difficult. And I was only a little child at the time, So when Grandad used to say these things, people just sort of try to shut him up or, don't say that, Dad, that type of thing. But as a child, I knew it was wrong. But yeah, he came through after he died and he said effectively how wrong he had been and how much he had learnt since being on the other side, how wrong he'd been. And it always stayed with me. But you see, those of you that follow me a lot, you can probably feel that my energy feels different today because what's coming up here, and I'm bringing this up for me because I'm bringing it up for you, because I want you to think about your stories in your family, because you'll all have one. Because what I'm actually feeling is coming up is a feeling of shame. Even though it's that thing about sins of the father, I've never intentionally held a racist energy within me. But yet I'm feeling the shame of what my family have done in the past, a couple of generations before I was even alive. So it's still there because we carry all of our ancestors within us. And I realise now that message about the back, I realise now what the back is. Because the other message I got this morning was, it wasn't just about lean back into the arms of grace, let go and let God. I mean, in some ways it is, because the back, you see, our spine stores our ancestral energy. And we can ask for it, I'm asking here that we let go of the ancestral damage that has been done to the collective pool that has resulted in 2020 for the death of this man, George Floyd, but equally is resulting in this explosion of race hate across our world, not just America, South Africa, UK, lots of places. It's this thing about healing the collective has to start with us at personal level. And so we have to own our own ancestral stuff. I have a few of you in my mind now who have shared some of their stories with me over the years, and I won't say what those stories are, but I know some of you still watch me, and we shared some stuff in New York at the masterclass. And it wasn't even public. I'm talking to one person specifically here who was very ashamed. I'm getting quite emotional. Who was very ashamed of something that their family had done in the past. And it was an American thing. Maybe I just need to say it actually, because I'm not naming and shaming anybody. It was linked to the Ku Klux Klan. So this is going very, very deep, very, very deep. And it's literally like John, because John is the one instigating this. John's got us down on our knees. And look at the way my hands are. John has got us down on our knees. asking us to pray to God for a world where we can truly see each other as souls and not as colour of our skin, white, black, brown, whatever. Souls. And if we saw each other as souls, the world would truly change. This has been a lot of my teaching over the last few months, to try to get us to look at each other as souls. So let's just bring those feelings up, which are very, very near the surface. The shame. Because the thing is, your ancestors that are now behind you, they're coming forward wanting healing. Ascension is very much to do with we bring all parts of ourself forward in ascension. When we upgrade our vibration, we're upgrading all parts of ourself. But our family line is also seeking upgrade and forgiveness. Forgiveness. But to even ask for forgiveness, you've really got to feel into the fact that it was wrong, what happened, what was said, what was done, what was held. Let's bring in Archangel Zadkiel. Forgiveness and transmutation. I'm going to bring the violet flame in. So just become aware of any ancestors that are around you, either who were victims of racism, victims of race hate, or they were people who caused the division and the separation and the race hate. They might have been the people that were, the Nazis, the Ku Klux Klan, the bigots, the racists, the slave owners. We can bring it all up. You don't even need to know who these people are in your family line. Even if they didn't directly have a part to play, they might have supported it, or they might have just been one of those people that just turned a blind eye. That's just the way of the world. It's just the way of the world. These things happen. Let's bring the ones that need the healing and the forgiveness. Let's bring them in here, because we can only get to a place of healing and forgiveness for the collective if we heal ourselves. And equally, if you're somebody that is experiencing currently in this lifetime racism done to you, done to somebody you love, done to your children, let's bring that up for healing too. Let's ask Archangel Metatron and Archangel Zadkiel to transmute this pain, to bring the light in. Let's bring the violet flame of Zadkiel first. Just feel this beautiful vortex of violet energy coming down, and I want you to imagine that violet energy flowing down your spine. Connect into your spine and see a violet energy literally swirling like a vortex, gently but quite powerfully, down through your spine. All the way down through your spine to your tailbone. And as the violet energy gets to your tailbone, it pulls there. It pulls, it becomes an enormous, pulsating, violet, throbbing, healing light. And we bring in the energy of forgiveness, of love, of light, and of hope. I also want you to bring it up to your throat if you're feeling your throat affected, as I am. That's just the emotion that's coming out. The feelings, the cries of anguish that you may have, your ancestors may have had. It's also to do with the times that you just said nothing and you allowed something to happen that you knew was wrong, but you said nothing. That is how people in positions of power get away with it. They get away with it because the person just walks on by. Okay, in the case of George Floyd, it was actually filmed. Somebody wasn't going to walk on by. That's why we can help bring in the healing light now. Okay, is that getting easier? Is that feeling a little bit lighter? It's feeling a little bit lighter where I am, just so we can continue. Okay, let's bring in some white light now. White light of Metatron. Now just feeling that white light flow down your spine. And imagining this beautiful row of ancestors behind you, and they're just like bowing in reverence like that. And they're accepting the violet ray, and they're accepting the white ray. And then as a group watching this, who is you and me, and equally our ancestors that are gathered as well, we lean back into the arms of grace. We let go and we let God. Okay, I'm just going to give you a moment to come to, and then we're going to go back to John. Okay, John is now showing me the mirror that we were looking in front of, and the mirror has been smashed to smithereens. It's like someone's got this great big mallet and smashed the mirror. And that is to do with that ugly reflection that we were seeing in the mirror for America in terms of where it is now. The smashed mirror represents the fact that we can move beyond this ugliness. It's like I can see this other mirror that wants to now come in. It's not quite ready to come in because America's still going through this healing process and crisis right now. But it wants to come in. And in that mirror, it's as though America then looks at itself once it's gone through this crisis in its midst. It then re-looks at itself, having healed some of this. And the image, I'm just being given a sneak preview. And it isn't immediate, guys. I'm not going to make false promises here. It's not like it comes in tomorrow. This feels as though it might still be. I'm going to be real with you. It feels as though it's still a couple of years off. That doesn't mean that you're going to be in crisis for a couple of years. It means that this, let's put it this way, to have got into the horrendous state that the country is in, it's going to take some time to unravel that ball and for the light to fully pulsate, okay? But, so it's a process. Healing is a process, but you keep walking towards it. And the mirror in the future, it's like a future mirror that I'm just being given a glimpse of. I'm seeing a playground now. It's a playground and it's got children of every single skin colour in it, and they're all playing really happily together. There's no division in that playground. It's God's playground is what I'm hearing. Okay, so that's what we're working towards. There might also be a nod to the fact that some of this stuff, the true deep healing, whereby you look at your country and it's like, whoa, I'm proud of us again. I'm really proud of us. There's some generational change that has to come in, which might mean that some of the people who are holding the deepest hatred and prejudice, it sounds an awful thing to say, but it's like when they die away, then the new generations coming in, they just don't have it. The younger generations just do not have it. Okay, so there's that as well. Let's just pull a card, then I'm going to go back to John. God, my throat how's your throat doing? Mine's still a bit sore here, but anyway, it's good. It's all coming up for healing. I've still got my grandfather's here, the one who marched with Mosley. He's got his cap. I don't know, he must have worn a cap. He's got his cap in his hand, and he's still waiting for me to say, I forgive you. I forgive you. You were of your time and place, and you didn't know any better. I love you. Thank you. He says he's going to help. He's going to help my work, and he's going to help us understand the place of fear that brings about the prejudice in the first place. He's going to help us understand the level of fear and ignorance that has resulted in this problem, and also the absence of being in the heart space. Because he's saying if I had been in my heart space, I would not have been led by the ego and the mind and the ears that just wanted to hear something that was of his day and of his time, a quick fix. He says, I'm deeply sorry. That's very interesting. What I'm now being shown is I'm being shown the march, the march, the Mosley March. It was a march of black shirts, basically, fascists. And I'm being shown the march, and it's like his place in the march. He's just been, it's like his place has just been erased. It's like someone's got a rubber out, and it's just taken him, it's taken his energy out of that scene. Because I forgave him. And I meant it. Let's put a card. Growth. Wow, what it says on the bottom, my God, and what it says on the back. It says, accept the lesson. When things don't go our way, something more important to the growth of our soul is in the works. Accept the lesson. When things don't go our way, something more important to the growth of our soul is in their works. So it's something to do with my violet pill teaching in terms of that experience with my grandfather and why he behaved as he did. It was to do with he learned something from it as a soul. It was to do with his soul growth. Can you see this card? Can you see the person and how tiny they look? And then look at that. That's almost like the book of life, I want to call it. The book of life. All the things that we need to experience, learn, do, observe, participate in on both sides. That's how big the task is in terms of the soul, in terms of what it learns over multitudes of lifetimes. So he grew from the experience of being the villain in that lifetime, choosing the wrong side, not choosing love, not choosing love. Okay. Let's just go, we'll go back to John now. That was a powerful mirror you just showed us there, John. He says, yeah. Let's talk about leadership. Look how relaxed he looks there. He has got this very relaxed vibe. He's sort of sitting in front of me. He's showing me himself sitting in front of me in this, well, it looks, it's not quite that chair, but it's a comfy chair, basically. He's in this comfy chair. He's dressed very relaxed the way that I'm looking at him, like almost a pair of chinos and an open, what do they call them? Polo shirt is what he's got on. A polo shirt and a pair of chinos. Very chilled out, even though he's such an interesting soul because he's bringing through these really deep truths and healing exercises for us to do. But yeah, he's one cool guy. I tell you, he's very, very cool. Okay. John, let's talk about leadership now. What would you like to say about leadership? Let's see about leadership. The true test of a leader is whether they can unify a country. To bring a country such as the United States, with so many different people and ethnicities and things to offer and different cultures, to bring them together in unity, or at least have moments of that, is the true test of a good leader. So that the person feels as though they are part of a greater whole, which is contributing to something worthwhile, which is contributing to the greater good, and that has everybody's interests at heart, not just a select few. This is the ultimate test of a good leader, to bring as many along with you, but to do so for the right reason and from the right place, not from ego, but from the heart, from the soul. To speak for every person within a country, not just some. To support large communities, small communities, fringe communities. For America to take its rightful place within the world economy and meeting place of world powers, but to not abuse that power, to not belittle others, to work together with other nations, to listen to other nations, to respect other nations, to remember that all are citizens actually of this one world. My hope for tonight's launch, he's talking about the space launch tonight in Florida, is that it can be a unifying event, that people can put down their differences and remember that actually all are not just part of the human race and part of being a citizen of Earth. You are part of something so much bigger than that. And he's showing me the view that you would get if you were an astronaut looking down onto the Earth and being able to just see the green, the blue planet, the green planet. And he's showing me that if you were an astronaut looking down onto Earth, you would actually see that the biggest entity upon this planet is not the United States of America, is not China, is not Russia, is the blue sea, is water. Water is actually what unites you. Water is what's within you and what unites you, but also is what can separate you. He's bringing back in that beautiful song by Simon and Garfunkel as well, Bridge Over Troubled Water. It's about building bridges between communities, between countries, between each other. He says never more so have Americans needed to build bridges with their neighbour, to build bridges with each other, to let go of the need to be right. Let me repeat that. Battery died. As I said, let go of the need to be right. Okay, so just to emphasise, that's a really important point. Being fair is an important trait also. Fairness, strength, humility. These are all characteristics of what a good leader needs to have. Humbleness, to remember that you are acting to serve others, not yourself. To trust in a greater power, and by that he means the power of God. That you are put there by the grace of God, and to try to do God's work and use your time wisely. So America currently has an election coming up, John. There's a lot of division. Any guidance that you can give to people in terms of the election to come? To choose wisely, to choose for the long-term benefit of your country, which path leads to greater unity, and which path leads to greater division, which path leads to more light, which path leads to more darkness. Just going to ask you just to take me into the White House now. Let's just have a bird's eye view on the energy of the White House right now. It's like it's got steam coming out of it, is what I'm being shown. It's like the steam coming out of the White House. Too hot to handle. A big energy of anger. Is there an expression which is something like anger makes you blind? That's what I'm hearing. Because I'm struggling to see anything beyond the steam and the anger. He's now showing me a boil that needs to be lanced. A bit graphic, but anyway, that's what he's showing me. He's showing me a boil that needs to be lanced. It's almost like the pressure it's like a pressure cooker energy in there, and something has to give, is what he's saying. Something has to give. And it feels as though it's very contained within just the White House. Because I was then thinking, I was feeling like the volcano energy, but then John's saying, no, it's not like a volcano, because a volcano by nature explodes, but then the lava basically gets released anywhere, doesn't it? It can go here, there, everywhere. This is much more contained. It's like a boil that's lanced, and then it's almost like a surgical thing, whereby then the pressure is relieved, but it's contained. It doesn't spread. To be honest, he's talking Donald Trump. Okay, so he's talking about the pressure. There's a pressurized energy around Trump, and something has to give. Something will give, but it will be contained. I'm now being shown the white, I'm sure it isn't a picket fence, but it's like a white picket fence around the, interesting, I knocked his picture over at that moment, around the White House. What are you trying to say? They need to up their security around the White House. The fencing around the White House. Okay. I actually feel there may be a situation at some point in the future, and it's this year, whereby it's literally like Trump is retreating to the right. I know the White House is where he is, but it's like he's retreated there, and it's almost like that's a place of safety, because outside the parameters of the White House, it's feeling very, very volatile, very angry, and it's literally like he's fenced in. What guidance can you give the American people here, John? It's such a volatile situation that I'm being shown here. Keep as calm as you can. He's showing me that, I don't know what you call it, but you know, is it a mall or whatever, the piece of land in front of the White House, you know, on an inauguration day, and it's like that's where all the crowds are down there. There's a great big strip of land where everybody congregates. Well, he's showing me lots of people congregating there, but it's like they're sitting for peace. Maybe that's something they did in the 60s, is it? That's what I'm being shown. It's like they're sitting for peace. So I'm feeling like this real angry energy around the White House and within the White House. But then that strip of land that leads down to it, it's like I'm seeing there's like a peaceful protest. He's saying, put your energy in that peaceful protest. Don't be one of the people that are losing their heads. Be one of the people that are holding the energy of peace. You must always, always do that. But anyway, it seems to be that strip of land, whatever it's called, I don't know, there seems to be some sort of ley line there, or it's on some sort of grid line. It's like he's showing me a key now. It holds like a key to the White House. So it's really important that area is kept, you know, as peaceful as possible. Is there a water feature or something there? There's a memorial there, isn't there? Light workers who know what on earth I'm talking about and that piece of land, if you can go and you can just, I don't know, lay some flowers or do something ceremonial in terms of just holding the energy of peace, it seems to help bring in an energy of peace to the actual White House itself and the administration, because it's really going to need it, because it's just like this, I'm just seeing it's like a flashing red light around the actual White House itself. So any work that you can do in front of it seems to help it to just harmonize a little bit. Okay. Anything else to say, John? I'm just aware that this video's relatively long already and I didn't want to make it too long. So let me just have some water and see where else you might want to go. Getting soaked by water as I say that. That's interesting. I'm doing that with the water. I got water here. I'm like washing my hands of something. Somebody's washing their hands of something. Do you know, I have often felt, and it's almost like I'm getting this vibe as well from JFK, I would not be surprised. I think there's a possibility that Trump just washes his hands from all of this and walks away at some point. As mad as that sounds, that's just what I feel is a potential timeline that is growing. It's like I'm just washing my hands of this. I'm out of here. I felt that for years, to be honest. It hasn't gone away as a feeling. Okay, let's get off Trump. Let's get back to JFK. Anything else to say? Yeah, Tree of Life. You can't see this, but right in front of me, I've got a mat with the Tree of Life on it. I've also just shown you this, which has got the Tree of Life on it. And I've just shuffled the Metatron card and the Tree of Life has just come out of it. Malcolm X said something about the Tree of Life, didn't he? Let me get my book again. You can't hate the roots of a tree and not hate the tree, Malcolm X. I don't really know anything about Malcolm X. Now, he was born the 19th of May as well. They were born 10 days apart. I know in different years. So they're both Geminis. Okay, there's got to be a reason why he's leading me to Malcolm X here then. Malcolm X, the American black nationalist leader, gave inspiring and powerful speeches full of strong imagery and cogent reasoning. A week after he delivered this speech, Malcolm X was assassinated by a member of the Nation of Islam, a group in which he had been a leading figure. However, in 1964, Malcolm X had changed his position on how to achieve black goals and become a figure of hate for the Nation of Islam. Okay, I think that's a nod to what John was saying earlier about racism isn't just to do with black and white. I mean, there's a big part of it is the black and white racism that exists in our world, but there's also this racism between people of different colours as well. So I think there's a nod to that as well. With him bringing Malcolm. I didn't know they were both assassinated and they were both born in May. Let's just go to a little bit of, I wonder if there's a bit of speech. Shirley Chisholm as well here. No, I think I'll do that another time because I don't know enough about him. I think it was just being brought to my attention because of the racism that exists between people of all colours and all countries. Okay, Tree of Life. Why have we got Tree of Life then? Travel on. Yeah, you see, we're all stuck on one part of the tree. We're stuck on a part of the tree collectively, which is this division between colour. And we have to somehow move ourselves to a different part of the tree, a different part of consciousness. We have to move beyond this. This seems to be the time that we're meant to move beyond this. Right, John, any last comments for today? He says we've done good work today. Yeah. Because he says you've made people think, we've made people think. And you've brought it back to them. And the work that they have to do on themselves and the work they have to do on their family line. And the work they very, very well may have to do on themselves. Maybe there are racist energies within yourself. Any last message for America? To keep strong, to hold together, to look after each other, to be there for each other. Sorry, I'm in his energy. He was like a really deep thinker. I think he actually used to do that a lot. I think he used to just sit at a desk. I'm seeing him sitting at a desk and he's like this, with a bit of a furrowed brow. And he's just like, he's deep in thought. He's deep in thought. He's like, I don't have all of the answers, but I'm here to help. I'm here to serve. I'm here to help you find the answers you seek within yourself. That's really what my work was all about. It was to help people realise that it was all within themselves, that we're all part of each other. I really tried to help people see the damage that separating yourself off from your fellow man does. And politics is a great way to do that. Religion is a great way to do that. If you're not Democrat or you're not Republican, you're not with me. If you're not Christian or you're not Muslim, you're not with me. It's an illusion. The Democrat and the Republican should be able to sit down and have a meal and a beer together, is what he's saying. He's saying it's why within my administration I invited Republicans to sit with me. I knew the importance of that, the symbolism of that. You now need to take that into your communities and your families and your friendship groups. You need to hold out the olive branch to each other. You need to learn to listen and to let go of the need for being right. Yeah, listening, John. We didn't talk about listening, the importance of listening. No one listens, he's saying. The cacophony of noise and distraction is getting ever higher. He's doing that, switch off. You know, I was saying earlier about switch off the news. He showed me an old-fashioned TV set that there would have been in the 60s or 70s. Those of us that remember them, you used to have an old-fashioned TV set. We had to switch the dial off. That's what he's doing. He's like, switch it off. Be informed. Do not be obsessed. He's saying people are just watching things and hearing things and reading things just to confirm their own prejudices a lot of the time. He said, do this, switch that off, and talk to your fellow brother and sister who are in your street, in your community, in your workplace, in your family, maybe in your bed. He's talking here, you know, husband, wives who don't even talk, that type of thing. Make peace with that. It's so important to listen. Did he used to smoke? He's showing me with like a pipe. Did he ever used to smoke a pipe? It's weird because I don't know whether he did smoke a pipe, because the other energy that I've got here today, I'm not going to do it now, guys. It's now 10:20, so I've been sitting here for a while. Winston Churchill, he definitely smoked a pipe. There's this thing about these world leaders who are desperately wanting to just be with us at this time. You know, Winston Churchill, I might do another day in terms of the UK, because I know he's got something to say about what's going on at the moment. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think JFK said this in my last channeling. Somebody said it anyway. I think it was him. He showed me, that's what he showed me. It's like there is a council of them in spirit, and they are trying to help, believe it or not. He's saying, we are trying to help. He's saying, I've come today to talk to you because I wanted to, but I always am around, as are a lot of these other leaders. So Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Nelson Mandela, Winston Churchill, JFK, the list goes on and on. There will be others as well. But those are some of the key ones that I'm seeing in my mind's eye. I'm just trying to see if there's anybody else I can see. Gandhi, I'm seeing Gandhi. I'm seeing the Indian lady who was assassinated as well. Oh gosh, what was she called? I'm sorry, I can't remember her name. You know the lady I mean? Indian lady, politician, assassinated. I know you're all telling me who it is. Indira Gandhi. Why am I being drawn to her? She was an Indian politician and a central figure of the Indian National Congress. She was the first and only female Prime Minister of India. She was killed by her Sikh bodyguards. I wonder why she was assassinated. I can't remember now. Anyway, she's also on the council. So they're representative of all the countries all around the world. There are some from Russia as well. Okay, I'm going to leave it there today. I'm going to thank John for being with us. I'm going to leave us actually by spraying the water elemental. Okay, and I would encourage you maybe to go and listen to Bridge Over Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel, and to hold the energy of Bridge Over Troubled Water, to see you through the coming days, the coming months and the coming years. This guy's energy is very needed in our world, and we thank him for visiting us today. I hope that helped everybody. Much love. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you all soon. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye for now. My next video will probably be on empath overwhelm. Okay, bye-bye.